This book belongs to Susan Someone. On finding a copy of a friend's book, heavily marked and underlined in a second-hand bookshop. It's only her version of what you were trying to do yourself, getting it down on paper, the right words that will say it so it stays said that way forever, whatever you once imagined it might be. Reading her inky notations from this distance, that's hard to tell. So often it seems to be her word, flush against yours, and who's to say, false modesty aside, which one of you deserves believing more? Surely once she must have had the profound feeling she could think of better things to stay awake this late for. The way I see it, she's up all night in bed, listening to the sound of your words in her mouth, that figurative kiss she really wants no part of. But she's so desperate to make out anything, no matter how self-explanatory, that she writes sad here, disappointing there, turn the page, and now it's frustration all over the place. And it's absolutely palpable, her side of it. Another page, and it's raining metaphor and symbol from a cloud of wishful thinking, out of the blue felt tip of habit pressing down until she's finally writing, I don't get it, the poem like a joke, the love, the sleep she truly needs. Because now she knows what you've suspected for some time. There will be a test on this, though hers will come more tangibly and sooner. And while she shakes her head, angry that she has to provide for this distraction she never asked into her life, worried she'll run out of coffee before enough of it sinks in, she's writing her own anxious heart out until it casts a shadow, takes on a life of its own here at the end of your book. I'm reading between the lines when I suppose her motives were as pure as yours, because that's where she's put that small part of herself, trying to wish some connection into existence, some sudden interstate that might finally replace the slower back roads, those precarious hairpin turns between the brain and the heart. It's obvious she's stuck in the dark again, but you've got to admire her for whistling. By now, her roommate's probably asleep, murmuring in some dreamy language that existed before the need to speak it, before the urge to write its imperfections down. Awake, it's trickier business, this saying so deliberately what we can only hope means anything. Especially when we're at it this late, weighing words until they somehow seem to matter, until we look at them again in the next day's excruciating light and realize mostly we stayed up all night for not nearly enough. And although she might have come to hate the very sound of your name, the thought of everything you put her through, I bet in other ways she's far too reasonable, too good to be still carrying a grudge. More likely that night's the farthest thing from her mind. Even if you can picture her in the room full of people where she is tonight, and even if she pauses between the drinks and dinner to whisper a few words in her lover's ear, don't think for a minute it has anything to do with you. She's come a long way to get to this place in her life, where finally she's happy almost beyond words. And these days, if she knows any disappointment, it's nothing she can say. If she'd had to rely on the fragile wings of song, she'd still be back in her dormitory, sweating out those hours again before she passed her test, but just barely. And you, wherever you are, with your own frantic pages of notes to get back to, another night drunk down to the cold bottom of the cup, imagining an even better poem somewhere in the margins of the best you can do right now, you know how that one goes.